Hi, and welcome. I'm Wendy Schnall, Career Services Advisor here at Raritan Valley Community College. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at how to write a winning resume. In this webinar, we'll cover what is a resume formats, what to put on your resume, what not to put on your resume, and we'll touch on cover letters. So what is a resume? The definition I like to use is an outline of the professional you. Notice I said outline. It's not everything you've ever done in your entire life. The goal is to make the reader want to find out more about you. It's really a marketing piece. You're selling a product, and that product is you. Employers use a resume to weed people out, sometimes from hundreds or thousands down to maybe 6 or 8. And guess how much time they take to make the decision yes or no? About 30 seconds. I've even heard as low as 6 seconds. So what does that mean for your resume? It means you want to have a very targeted, easy to read resume. Most of you will do a chronological resume, where your education and experience are listed in reverse chronological order. There's also something called a functional resume, which is more skills-based and good if you're a career changer or have large gaps in your work history. Today I'm going to talk about the chronological resume. There's really no one right way to write a resume. You want to highlight your particular skills and background. There are, however, some conventions. One is that the most important information goes at the top. The other information follows in reverse order of importance. So what would be most important? If you said your name, you would be right. Don't laugh. We've had some wonderful resumes submitted to us with no contact information. There's very little chance that person's going to be hired, even if they're the most qualified for the job. Speaking of contact information, you want to have a professional email address. No hunkyhenry@hotmail.com or even ilovecats at whatever. Gmail is the best email address to use for job search. It's considered to be the most professional. Let's look at the rest of the sections of the resume more carefully. The first section is called Profile or Summary of Qualifications. It used to be called Objective, but that's considered too me-oriented. It's better to think about what's in it for the employer and what you can do for them. Next, we have the Skills section. This may be the hardest section to write because we're all taught not to brag, but here you have to just a little bit. What skills would you want if you were an employer? You want to use technical terms because you want your resume to come up if the employer utilizes an applicant tracking system. Things like computer programs industry-specific machinery, languages. You also want to use transferable skills. Examples are punctual and reliable, motivated, problem solver. Where would you find these skills to include? You could look in your class notes or in textbooks, but the best place is probably the job ads themselves. If you don't know what skills you have, contact Career Services for assistance. This section is also where you'll put your licenses and certifications once you receive those, or you may decide to put those in a different section. For most of you, education will be your next section. If you have lots of relevant experience would come before education. List your education in reverse chronological order and omit high school unless it's a VOTEC related to your intended career. List RVCC, the location, and the anticipated date of graduation. Think about what else you have at RVCC that will help to sell you. Include your GPA if it's above a 3.0. Also include honor societies and dean's lists. This is where I give my plug for joining a club. Getting involved makes you a well-rounded person and builds career readiness skills. So you can then put your clubs and organizations on your resume, especially if you're an officer in that club. You may also want to include relevant coursework here or in a different section. The experience section. List your experience in reverse chronological order, starting with the most recent. You may want to have separate sections for relevant experience and additional employment. For example, if you want to be a nurse and you currently work in McDonald's, but 2 years ago you worked in a nursing home, you can put the nursing home experience under relevant employment and the McDonald's under additional work history, keeping each section in reverse chronological order. Put the job title, the name of the organization, whichever is most relevant or important would come first, the location, just city and state, and the dates of employment, just month and year. Remember, volunteer positions can be included, as can school projects and research. For your job description, use bullet points to make this section easier to read. Start each bullet point with an action verb. Try not to use responsible for or duties included. Words like designed, created, supplied are much more powerful. Also, be sure to use keywords for the industry. You can check the job ads themselves to find out which words reoccur. Focus on accomplishments rather than responsibilities. Use numbers if possible. For example, consistently finish projects 100% on time and 10% under budget. Hiring managers want to know what you can do for them. Even something like consistently praised for outstanding customer service is good. I'll show you a couple of examples. Example number 1. Before, created a brochure. After, created a marketing brochure using InDesign to generate greater customer interest in the company's new fall line of clothing, highly praised by the Director of Marketing. Now you can see how the after version gives the employer a much better idea not only of the applicant's skills, but also the software they utilized, as well as the result of their work on the project. Who would you hire, the before or the after? It's unnecessary to state references available upon request right on the resume itself. However, you do need a list of 3 to 4 references on a separate sheet. This is usually requested at the interview. For a polished look, you could put the same heading on your reference sheet as you do on your resume and cover letter to carry through that branding effect. So who might you use as a reference? Your boss, a professor, a scout leader, maybe an athletic coach, anyone who supervised you in an academic or hands-on setting. On the separate sheet, you'll put the name of the reference, the contact information, and their relationship to you, such as supervisor. Be sure to ask your contact's permission before using them as a reference. You could ask, "Are you comfortable being a reference for me?" You want to be sure to include only people that think highly of you. And now for some specifics. Keep your resume to 1 page, 2 at the most if you have lots of relevant experience. Use Microsoft Word to start with to create your resume to keep the appearance simple. The best fonts are Calibri, Times New Roman, Arial, Tahoma, and Verdana. Keep the margins between 0.5 and 1 inch and use minimum of 11-point type size. If you want to put some fancy finishing touches on at the end after you've done the basic resume in Word, you can always do that. Be honest on your resume. If you're hired and the employer finds out you weren't truthful on your resume, it is grounds for dismissal. Be sure to proof your resume in addition to spell check. And lastly, keep your resume updated. Save it as a Word document and change it as you need it. Your resume is a living, growing document, and it will change as you change. And now for some don'ts. As we said, don't give your complete history, even if you have a lot of experience. Just go back about 10 years. Don't use the word I on your resume. A resume is not grammatically correct. Rather, it's short, choppy phrases. Don't include any social or political information that could be controversial and distance you from an employer. Make no mention of salary. And as we said before, don't include references right on the resume. Let's talk briefly about cover letters. A cover letter introduces the resume. Place it in the body of the email and attach the resume as a Word document or a PDF. Address your cover letter to a particular person. If you can't find the name of someone, you can always put "Dear Hiring Manager." The cover letter should be short, no more than 1 page at the most. In the first paragraph, state where you saw the position. In paragraphs 2 and 3, target your letter and tell why you're interested in that company or the type of work that the company does. Research the company on their website and on other resources. Mention the qualifications that you have that make you a good candidate for their position. In the last paragraph, ask for the interview. State what you will do to follow up. I will contact you within 2 weeks to arrange a mutually convenient time to discuss my qualifications and your professional needs. Of course, if you tell them you'll follow up, you have to remember to do that. Or you could just say, I look forward to hearing from you. Conclude with thanking the employer for his or her consideration. Thanks for watching this video. See our website for more resume writing resources and a variety of career planning topics. Check out our YouTube channel and please connect with us through our social media groups.